love to just give you a platform.
Yeah.
Oh,
They
yes,
love
it's
to just
slow
give you
exposure.
an opportunity.
Oh my goodness.
Like those are their two favorite words. Also, like when you already approach me with the level of, first of all, I love my job. I love what I do. I'm super excited.
Yeah.
I'd probably do it for free because it just makes me so happy. But if you're already approaching me with the angle of, so budgets have been cut this year, cut me too, please. Like, cut me too.
What up, and welcome to another hot episode of the POPcast. My name is Miss Cosmo, as it is every single week. Today, I'm rolling with two new beautiful guests because my main man, Muchi, is off having a vacation of a lifetime.
I love that for him.
Woo, Umuchi. I wanted to text him on the side and say, ha, pay, kantungaga. Hey, kumnandi la apila corner. But you know, while he's enjoying and he's taking time off, we decided to kind of switch things up a little bit, especially because it is Women's Day today. So I invited two beautiful ladies to join me today. Say what's up to Miss Muesli
Hey.
and Pamela Mtanga. Thank you so much for joining me, ladies.
Thank you for having us.
Yes. And, you know, I think especially with the month that it is, I just decided, you know what, we can have a little bit of a girls' chat because it's always kind of men heavy and men opinions. And now we can, you know, have a little bit of a ladies' chat. And we are recording from our favorite home, Matt Black in Nickel Way. We've recorded here a couple of times and it's just so welcoming. And I think because we're always coming back here, I think it also implores you to come back every time as well, just to come and check it out. I think it's Nomuzi's first time here.
Same.
Really
Love it.
And we got ourselves a few, you know,
Love it.
a few drinky drinks. We don't need any more because it's gonna get a bit spicy later. But nonetheless, yes, please do come through and check out the cocktails. Matt Black is giving us, you know, some energy for today. Nonetheless, of course, we're just gonna kick it off with what's been hot and happening in entertainment this past week. And I think one thing that kind of sparked my interest was obviously we know Amapiano is kind of taking a big wave in the music industry right now, and it's really interesting to kind of see how the world is accepting Amapiano as a genre. Obviously, we've seen things like Afro Nation where they had their own stage and took it to the top. So much so that BBC One Extra actually decided to do a documentary on Amapiano, which I think is huge for a production that big to actually highlight something that's happening all the way in Africa. However, I am a little bit worried about the fact that South Africans don't really tend to kind of document their own culture and rather leaving it up to other people. How are we feeling about this? Do you think South Africans should actually, you know, invest a little bit more in taking themselves to the world as opposed to the world looking into us?
I mean, I feel like the people who are featured on the documentary, Kamumpela, Durban Koko, Shasha, those are people who invest so much in themselves. You know, Durban Koko and obviously Kamumpela, they've traveled, they've been to the UK, so they're kind of familiar with that market too. So it's kind of like an ROI in a weird way. It's like you invest in yourself and people will help you tell the story, but nobody can tell the story better than yourself. But I think sometimes it's all about, like, especially in the industry, like we're in it. I mean, Pamela, you always talk on your page about how expensive it is for you to actually shoot your content. It's not that like South African artists don't want to tell their stories, we don't want to have documentaries, but to have like somebody follow you around with the camera all day, it's not cheap, you know?
It's not cheap at all.
Exactly. So it's really like difficult, I think. And that's, for me, if I could, I would have somebody just following me the whole time, because there's so many things that happen on a day-to-day basis, and that's actually the content people want to see. That's the content that resonates with people, but it's not as easy and as practical to do as people think it is.
I hear you.
I believe so as well. And I also just think that we have this culture as like, I think the decision makers and the people who actually have money to invest in these kind of things, I think they'll believe more once a BBC says, Amapiano is the new wave, take a look at it. And now there's someone in South Africa thinking, okay, maybe let's invest in this Amapiano thing. And I also just think that from the perspective of it doesn't have to be a documentary, but like concerts and all of that stuff. And I think the people who are like key within the Amapiano genre should be taking a stand and just deciding that we're gonna do this, like they did with Scorpion Kings. Like that was amazing. That was so amazing. Good. But where's more? We want more. Exactly. We want to see it. We want people to travel all the way from different parts of the world to come and see those kind of concerts and those festivals, because I think that's a one way they can invest back into the music, you know, and not just it being a one individual winning or two individuals winning, but rather investing in a concert or whatever the case may be.
I like that, actually, that point about the rest of the world coming to us. Because what it feels like now was that it's a lot of export that's happening, as opposed to people actually coming to South Africa to say, I need to go to where this thing originates from, as opposed to kind of nitpicking and be like, okay, well, we'll bring you to the UK or we'll bring you to the States. It's like, okay, sharp, expose those places to the rest of the world. I get that, or to South Africans. However, let's also kind of implore them to then come here, because the culture kind of derives from South Africa. And that's why I feel like production companies also need to kind of create the content to then say, this is where this thing is built. This is South Africa. Let's also kind of give a bit of a broader scape to where this thing originates from. You know?
I think we really also just like kind of as an industry need to have a broader conversation about the actual value of our content and the actual value of talent. I think in so many other spaces in our industry, like in advertising, in media spaces, in broadcasting, it's like in black and white. If you want to put an advert on this show at this time, this is how much it's going to cost. But when it comes to like talents and stuff, we are the one thing that's constantly being negotiated, you know? So I think once we can like regulate those kind of things, as talents, we can also try to invest ourselves into actually doing more.
That is so hard, because like I'll speak from an influencer perspective, you know, I'll have, for argument's sake, 100K followers, and you find someone who has 200K followers. A brand comes to me and they're like, hey Pam, we'd like to pay you 10,000 Rand for this post, and this is what we'd like you to do. We want a video, we want a feed post, we want this. And then I say, no, you're literally exploiting me and the people that work with me. And I always just like outline like what goes into my production. There's like black creators that I need to pay. There are props that I need to buy. There's ETC that has to be bought. Like, I can't accept this rate. This is my rate. And then you'll see someone who has 200K followers, take that
half
rate.
the price.
Yeah.
Half
There's
the price.
nothing
So
more
how
painful.
do you regulate rates in general when there are people within the same industry who are taking way lower rates than what they're worth? And then I also think like, it's one thing to be calling people out for taking lower rates, but you don't know what they have to pay for. They
Mind
gotta
your
pay
business.
rent.
Mind your business.
Exactly. They gotta pay rent. At the end of the day, that person gotta pay rent.
Yes.
You can decline from a point of privilege, but they're out there like, oh, I need this gig because I need to pay rent. So it's so hard to regulate like rates and stuff when some people really like depend on whatever little a brand or a person is offering.
Yeah, for sure. But I think also just taking it back to the point of this BBC documentary, they weren't necessarily, as much as it was like giving a platform to Amapiano and everything, I think they were really just telling the story from a place of like, yo, this is what's popping, this is what people need to know. I don't think they were banking on people in Soweto watching it. I don't think they were banking on people from Alex watching it. They were speaking to their audience and they were just telling a story. And I think platforms in South Africa that do have those kind of resources should be telling more of those stories. You know, the BBC obviously is a big company and they tell what's actually happening. I think it's really important that South African networks also like tell the real story, the true story, the story that's going to stand the test of time and the story that's going to inspire the next generation. Because I wouldn't lie, like seeing Kamumpela and Shasha and Taluwanga and that thing was just like, yo.
Even Kamupela also did an Instagram takeover while she was at Afro Nation.
And it was posted on Instagram page. Exactly.
I know.
This is an Instagram
and
takeover.
I thought that was amazing because it's obviously kind of showcasing how we've got so much of what the world wants right now.
True.
I just want us to own it. I think that's my only point, is that it's great. I'm not saying BBC shouldn't have put out the documentary. I'm not saying Instagram shouldn't have done the takeover. I also just want us as South Africans to then say, okay, I'm talented enough for the world to want a piece of me. Let me also curate and get a little bit more out of it by creating it myself. You know what I mean? And like you're saying, there are some places that have resources. So let's kind of invest a little bit more so that we also getting a piece of the pie and not BBC kind of telling our story for us only.
Yes,
there's other ways. There's
yeah.
different ways to skin the cat. There's different ways to kind of depict the story. Let's do it from an original perspective.
Yeah, I think it also has to be a collaborative effort because it goes back to what Sumuzi was saying, like, has the money to get everyone to follow us every single day.
It's not keeping up with the Kardashians.
Guys, it is hella expensive to have someone following you the whole day. Like, I remember, like, I recently went back to vlogging. I would rather carry my own camera and then have someone edit it.
Exactly.
It's expensive. For instance, I know a guy, he's really good. He does most of my videos, 32K a day. So imagine now where now you're just like, yeah, what if someone to follow me every day? You know? So it has to be a thing of, listen, you do video, I'm the talent, let's collaborate. Yeah. Whatever we make from this documentary, we'll split it X, Y, and Z. Kind of like how Kanye West did with Genius. You know, because the guy wasn't getting paid to film everything, but he got rights to the actual footage. So I think that's the only other way that I think that's really cost effective in order to tell our stories the way in which we want to.
Hey, it's tricky, this thing, but you know what? I think the idea's been sparked, and I think maybe at this point, when people see somebody else doing it, that's when they usually kind of pick it up and then say, okay, let's run with it before this thing is taken away from us completely. Obviously, with it being Women's Day today, we know a lot of brands and people who are celebrating women in effective, sometimes non-effective ways. You know, like little things, we'll send you like a spa voucher. It's like, okay, thanks. You know, they're celebrating me for
spa vouchers.
Sometimes they do. Sometimes they do. I'm just kind of sitting back and thinking about how Women's Day is always one of those. Women's Month for me is always one of those months where I appreciate the fact that people want to celebrate us because we are powerful in our own rights and we deserve to be celebrated on a day like this. However, it still also kind of irks me a little bit that whether it be brands, whether it be corporates, whether it be, I don't know, events, promotions, whatever, it's as if we only exist in August.
It's slightly condescending.
And it's like, oh yes, by the way, there's women in this world. It's also just like, let's give them this 1 month to kind of then say, okay, we'll push them forward, and then the rest of the 11 months we don't exist. How do we better effectively work this thing so that we can still kind of fight for equality in the space?
I mean, we're also not saying cancel Women's Day and Women's Month because genuinely, especially in this country, women deserve to be celebrated because they go through so much, they fight so many battles. So it's only right that they do get celebrated. But I feel like the fact that there's no like Men's Month, because Men's Month is the whole year, should just let you know that like, you're capping. You're capping, you're condescending. And it's just kind of like, I feel like it's almost like Pride. Women's Month and Pride Month, very much the same energy of just like,
okay, we've given you your moment.
Yeah,
thanks.
like thanks. And also it's just like now in the culture and age of wokeness, you just really have to be like super on it, super aware. You don't want to be the brand that did nothing. You don't want to be the brand that and I think it's really important for brands to celebrate women and do what they can, but sustainability. I think sustainable solutions to helping women is so important. It's not just about like, hey, there's like 30 months, 30 days that we can give you. Let's make the most of it. Like, how are we bringing sustainable solutions to helping women in different industries, in medicine, in law, in entertainment? It's just like, it's not happening. And I feel like over the years, Women's Month has gotten less and less of like a thing. Because women are just like, we're actually
we're actually we're actually over it.
I've seen us cut. Like, thanks, we appreciate it, but we don't have time to do this little charade with you guys because we're actually doing the work.
It's like take some time out. However, could you please send us those
Yes,
reports? The document is done.
And
X, Y, and Z. Like,
exactly.
oh yeah. By the way, take your kids to school. Do everything that you have to do. Cook. Do this. I just feel like pay women their worth.
Exactly.
That's all. Isn't it also so crazy how in Women's Month is when you have to do the biggest discounts for people? Like, like in Women's Month, they'll never hit you with the full price. We're just doing this for women.
And
Please just come by.
True.
And I get the
That's
level
true.
of giving back, but like ngiyasebenza.
Exactly.
Like
Yeah.
I'm literally working, and a lot of the exchanges that people want to do in this month are actually the work that I get paid to do.
True.
And now it feels like I'm devaluing the work that I do with people that actually pay me because I'm trying to like make this thing dope and really amazing.
Help you with your
And trust me, me being the
Yeah.
best version of myself is the most inspirational Women's Month content you can ever get.
Yeah.
Please don't try to fry me.
Please,
Like
honestly.
it's exploitation.
And it also gets to a point where sometimes it also feels like you're mentioning, the payment margins sometimes are also, well, most of the time, vastly different. And for me, it's also just like the level of expectation, because you want me to do this free gig and inspire and do the most, but I'm putting a lot more into my just arriving is a lot more than what, for instance, my male counterparts would probably have to do. They just have to take a shower and put on some track pants and they can go. Me, now I have to make sure, okay, I have to wake up 3 hours earlier because I must get to makeup. I must do my hair. I must at least have an outfit that I haven't repeated on Instagram in the past 3 months.
Right?
Do you know what I mean? Like those things cost money.
Yes.
They do.
And you want me to just arrive
And
be-
also inspire other people. None go inspire.
Like, inspiration naina invoice.
Inspire my
Joe.
bank account.
Inspiration naina invoice.
Exactly. So.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really awesome. It's fun. Like, you know, I want to like do a nice brunch with my girls and just
Yeah.
celebrate. But just like generally speaking, Women's Month is a bit like
Zwang, zwang, zwang. But we could do a little bit more. I don't know. I appreciate the fact that we still do get celebrated. So again, don't stop with the celebrations. However, let's just equalize it throughout the year so that it's not
Yeah.
necessarily something that only happens.
Sustainability.
You know,
Yeah.
just a little bit more of a bump the cheese up, please. Bump the cheese, because I think it's also kind of speaking to what you're talking about, even with some of the brands, about how they'll expect so much from people, especially even content creators, to like do the world, but they've only given you like $5 of a budget to do that. And that also kind of irks me a little bit as well, because it's like they've now looked at how they actually get their brands out there. And instead of spending huge amounts of money on advertising, they're saying, okay, well, we're still getting the advertising, but at a fraction of the cost, because we've offered Pamela 5,000 and she must work with it. And it's like, okay, now you're getting better advertising through her followers, but you have got a budget. Use it properly. Use it wisely.
Yeah. I just feel like most brands also just want to give you the change that they have. Oh, we have like 10K to play with. What can we do?
Also, not even the change, babe.
Yeah.
The platform.
Exactly.
They love to just give you a platform.
Yeah.
Oh,
They
yes,
love to just give you
exposure.
an opportunity.
Oh my goodness.
Like those are their 2 favorite words. Also, like when you already approach me with the level of, first of all, I love my job. I love what I do. I'm super excited.
Yeah.
I'd probably do it for free because it just makes me so happy. But if you're already approaching me with the angle of, so budgets have been cut this year, cut me too, please. Like, cut me too.
How about that? Don't phone
Like,
me.
do you know what
Lose
I
my
mean?
number.
Like, you're
Thanks.
already making me feel like, we are frying you. We are suffering. We are frying you. But let's go. I really hate it. But I think something that I've realized, particularly this year, working as an influencer, as a talent, and then also just working behind the scenes with brands, is there's a little bit of a disconnect on the business side of things. There's really this perception that agencies and brands are the only people who are running businesses.
Yeah.
Influencers are just living their best life.
Yes, we're just having lunch.
Like
For
influencers
life.
are just really having fun, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my gosh, your makeup artist is 1.5. Just do your own makeup.
No.
Okay, I need 3,000 Rand for styling. Miss, you've got so much style. Like, just wear something that we really want it to feel authentic.
Yes, we
Just
really-
wear something that you've got in your closet. Okay, cool. My
Hair.
videographer is going to be like this much.
You can just film it on your phone.
Like you can just film it on your phone. Let me send you a
We
link.
don't want anything hectic.
And
No,
then
we
when
don't
it
want
doesn't look
anything
nice-
hectic. Reshoot. When they don't like it, reshoot.
And then they're like,
the
yo,
whole
your
thing.
camera angle was a bit off. Yeah, I think you didn't want me to pay a videographer.
No, also
my shooting skills. I'm not a photographer. I mean,
or
come
just
on.
like they'll think it's just a small thing. Like we love the grey shoots, the grey tracksuit, but it doesn't really match the brand colors. We're more like a red, so could you just change the outfit? That means I have to change the whole thing. Like, oh no, like the background. The background is just a bit distracting.
No.
Could you just change the background? No, that means I have to reshoot the whole thing.
Yeah.
And you've just paid me for the one shoot.
I don't want to lie. Like one thing about me, like if it was not in the initial brief, I don't change it.
Nah.
Yeah, if it was
Really?
not in the
Yeah.
initial brief, like if you didn't strictly say we only wear red, Pam, we don't want orange, green, or whatever.
You on your own.
Then you're on your own. I'm just like, you're gonna have to work with it. I
I
can
think
go
the
back
next-
for editing if you want me to,
But that's
like
it.
if it was not in the initial brief, I don't change anything.
I want to know who is the person who came up with the rule that talent and influencers and stuff have to sign their contracts. Why can't they sign the contract from Amapiano Music?
But I feel like not enough people argue it.
Right?
True.
I
True.
feel like not a lot of people argue it, and that's why people get stuck in weird contracts. Even from a music perspective, I think this is where I've experienced it. Is that, for instance, like a label will send a generic contract and say, this is what we're offering you. We send it to all of our artists. Everybody signs it. No, you've got a right to actually argue it because you need to get the best deal for yourself as the artist, as a creative, as a person who's now getting into business with this specific brand.
Yeah.
Because you are putting yourself on the line. If you sign it, they're going to go back to that contract and then it's awkward. So I say, get somebody to read through it. I know it's difficult because lawyers are expensive, but there are some people who are willing to read through some of these things to help you out, to be like, this one doesn't make sense. Maybe fight for a little bit more money. And sometimes their contracts aren't bad, but maybe you just need to adjust a fee so that you also feel like you're getting something out of it. Not enough people argue it, and I think that's where the problem starts.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely going to make people start signing my contracts. I'm tired of your contracts.
Yes.
Your contracts, they exploit her, and
also payment terms. I struggle with payment terms a lot. Like I can go 3 months.
Without being paid.
No,
Yeah.
also just the level of, sorry, there's just been a delay on the PO number. We're going to send it next week.
There's nothing that frightens me more than a PO number.
Accountant she's on leave.
Yes,
She's on
and
leave.
also why are
like
they always on leave?
imagine if you had to say, my videographer is on
leave.
leave, so I cannot submit the content. The popper, sound, drop it low, pick it up slow. Okay? Like, I really, really hate it. Like, honestly, it frustrates me. And sometimes, because I'm like super positive, like I like pray.
You are, Shem,
Like
yes.
my whole thing is like, I want to just be like Jesus, do everything for the glory of God. But like, yo,
Battling.
Honestly, they be taking the piss.
Yeah, guys,
In the UK, they say you're taking the piss, innit? You taking a big piss right in my
Are
mouth.
always on leave. Why?
No.
Why?
No, you were working in the bank. Please. Finance.
And that's the thing, like when people want to take their leave, mabati 5 o'clock, sorry, I'm off the clock. Mabati 30 leave, leave. My irritation is when people are on leave, they're supposed to leave someone in the office to take over their work while they're gone. Why is there no one to activate that payment? But
The department, donkey, Emile, donkey.
what about abasebenza nge-20 ababhadalwa nge-25?
And also when
do they not get their salaries?
When the person like comes back, they'll start with the
beginning.
payment backlog,
Yeah.
and then your payment gets pushed out.
Yeah.
We need to
I've seen
rework
it.
this freelancers not getting paid thing because
We
we
really
depend
do.
on
Rent,
every
also
single.
We really,
Rent,
really
invoice.
do. We
Ish,
really
we
do.
need to
Like
work
you know
around
how
this.
many times you have to dip into our savings because like people are not paying on time. Because you can imagine after 3 months of not getting paid.
But what is the delay? I don't get it.
You never know. But
I mean,
after 3
I really
months of
don't know.
not
Like,
getting
I
paid,
understand like corporate structures or whatever, but I always say this. Like, we like to say it's corporate, it's the finance department, it's channels, it's brand, it's agency. guys, these are people.
Yeah.
It's
True.
Samantha,
Yeah.
Jennifer,
Yeah.
Claire, Dombi,
Yeah.
Zama.
And don't say the system, because the system is operated by
You.
Dombi and Zama.
Like it's
and
you, like bruh, it's you, dude. And I think it sometimes gets a bit personal for us because, unlike other people who work in those spaces and those departments, like they can literally go into the office, they sign in, 5 o'clock, they're out, it's gone. Me and as a talent, as a creative, angichayisi, the head office is on 24 hours ngathi kuse McDonald's. Like it is so hectic, and we really try not to we have to remember that we're dealing with people, but try not to take it personally. But I think just after COVID in particular, and just this year, when I think especially about people like Ricky, when I think about Dumi, I'm just like, you guys are really being hard on us.
Yeah.
Like the world is already hard enough on creatives, but they don't care to make it any easier.
Yeah.
And it may not be personal. They're also just doing their job or whatever, but they really don't understand the mental repercussions, all these little things that for them it's just it's business. This is the game. Do it for the culture.
Yeah,
Bruh.
okay. You want to get involved with the culture, then you also need to then work with the culture, work with the people whose lives you're exploiting to get your end goal for whatever situation that you're kind of putting together.
For sure.
And if it is corporate or whatever the case is, change the structures.
True.
We're not in 1999 anymore. There's ways around these things. There doesn't have to be red tape. You guys were able to change things around for COVID and change the structures after 10 days. Not this thing of waiting for 60 days. I don't understand that thing.
I know of artists and just people who just won't work without a full rate. And it's just it's
arguing
it's so
back.
sad. But it's also so sad. It's just
because then you have to sit so many things out.
Yes, you have to sit so many things out because they value certain people enough to say, yo, we need to pay this person when they want to get paid. But there's certain people they're
Get opportunity.
hey, opportunity.
Don't you want to go to the MTV Awards?
We're gonna replace you.
You want to go to the MTV Awards, Pamela? Come to the MTV Awards, and you're just bruh, but I could have stayed here, shot this, did this, done that.
Yeah.
But you're also just oh my gosh, this is a really great profile opportunity. I can travel. Also, while I'm there, I can shoot content. That's the life of an artist. You are constantly just
thinking a lot
trying
about
to make things make sense for you. But
I actually didn't consider that point that you've just made about how mentally it actually messes with creatives from a bigger perspective, because then it always kind of circles back to, but talk if you have a problem. Yeah, I'm talking. You're hitting me back with your corporate jargon.
Exactly.
So I'm saying to you, good thing is stressed and you don't want to, it's part of the problem. So I also feel it needs to be an open conversation to a point of these are things that we're having to deal with as creatives or as freelancers. Because, there's different ways to kind of look at this thing. But you guys also just need to consider our lives and what we have to get through to get the content out. Because when you have a deadline, we make sure it's done, regardless of what I have to do for that day. I'm like, 5 o'clock, I must make sure I've sent this video. Otherwise, who's on you? Yeah, but Nina, at 5 o'clock, I need to invoice, send ya Kyla.
Yes.
No. I think we really need to look at how it's got a long-term effect on certain things. It's got a long-term effect on how people need to consider working with specific people or consider working with specific brands, because that also becomes an issue now, is that I now sit back and I say, I don't know if I want to work with these people anymore because they treated me badly.
Exactly.
And I'm going to fight for myself now. I'm not even going to take it just because you're offering me money. I'm gonna sit back and say, but mentally I can't do this thing again. Let me rather sit it out. There's definitely a backlash at some point in the game,
Yeah,
it's
there's
tricky.
certain brands you have to blacklist.
No, definitely.
And agencies.
And also, those are the same brands when now our friends have died, or doing board meetings about, should we or should we not do a post about this? I think we shouldn't post about it because it's just a bit somber, and we know. Bruh, I did a whole campaign for you. You exploited the shit out of me, and now I'm gone. Just say RIP. Are you joking me?
Yeah.
They're really heartless. I won't lie. And this is not to discourage anybody coming into the game.
Yeah.
But that thing, and I remember my dad specifically being are you sure, my baby? And because the stars are in your eyes, your dreams are so big. Like, I think, and also we don't really like talk about these things openly because we're also just trying to get by, bro. We're also just trying to be grateful. We're also just trying to make the most of the moment. So we don't want to get stuck on the bad things that happen. But especially for kids who are looking at this, coming in, please, the Instagram is popping, but the industry is 7% Instagram,
Suffering.
93% Gyaniwa.
Yeah.
Like, literally.
Yeah,
you
suffering.
You have to prepare yourself mentally. You have to prepare yourself physically, financially, spiritually. Spiritually, most importantly.
100%. All right, so also one thing that also kind of sparked my interest, I think, even just kind of watching how different artists elevate themselves and different artists kind of get themselves into different spaces. I think one thing that's also always hacks me a lot about artists specifically is, I think maybe even COVID might have played a part in it, is people not kind of investing a lot more into their performances. I mean, if you look at somebody like, for instance, Kamompela, who, no matter what, she'll make sure she comes through with the fire because she's got 50 million dancers on stage, but they're all in sync and they're all working with each other because she understands the end goal is about what it looks like and how much effort she's putting into her performance. Do you think artists need to invest a little bit more into what they're doing on stage as opposed to just kind of then saying, okay, well, my song is out, rock it, and then you'll let me know if it's dope?
I think 110%. Like 100%. I recently recorded Blanco Sessions too, and what was happening in the recording is that the drums were bleeding through my mic, and I had to like re-record certain songs. But you need to understand, I've been trying to do this shoot for 6 months. So can you imagine over 6 months how much money I invested? I started with one band, fired that band, went with another band. There's a music engineer, there's rehearsal space.
Everybody needs to get paid.
It costs money to put these shows together. I think sometimes people think, I'm artists are lazy. Like, it's financially very expensive. And then also like energy-wise, it's so expensive because manje uPamela udlala ama-drums mara in a bad mood today. Manje nje sonke we just have to like deal with Pamela's bad mood. It really, really is expensive, but it's something that you really have to do, especially if you talk like, this is how I talk. Like, I mean, if, for example, you sound like Roddy Ricch.
Yeah.
Like, Roddy Ricch is like not a rapper, like he's not like straight. But if he performs without the autotune, it's just like, who are you?
What's happening?
Who are you?
Yeah.
Like, you know, like, I saw Flame perform the other day, Street Fresh, with a live autotune. Amazing, sounded like Flame. Have you seen Nasty C live? Better than the CD.
Really?
Sounds crystal clear, amazing. Because that's who you are. Like that's who you are. And also, people are paying to see you. I know sometimes, especially in South Africa, we're very spoiled for like performances and DJs and stuff, because you can come to Matt Black and then you'll see Miss Cosmo. You'll go to Rockets, you'll see DJ Zintle. You'll go to Yep Yep and you'll see Kamompela. Like, you can literally go anywhere and you'll see like the greatest artists. So sometimes, because the frequency of shows is so much, you think you don't need to like put in that effort. But trust me, people are watching. And about to find a good culture collector,
when they tag you on Monday, you're like,
it's so important. It's like, honestly, like, as an artist, it's like coming without your voice or coming without your face. And you're not a host. That's another thing artists like to do. Hoster. Leave hosting to Uncle Vinny. Sing your song. Remove the lead from your backtrack and sing your song.
That's true.
Let's
Because
sing the song.
because a lot of people don't put in all of that effort into their performances. They always then do the backtrack, and then it's like, I don't know if they forget their words or what's happening, but they just don't remove the lead, because for them they're like, but you're singing along anyway.
It's a crutch. It's definitely a crutch.
Oh man, I like what you're saying about where you're saying that, like, because you see people so often, or they're seen so often, that they feel like they don't have to show up when they eventually perform. I just feel like every time you see someone, like, I think that the mentality that artists in general have to kind of just like, what's the word? Employ, is that like there's someone who's seeing me for the first time. Someone here is seeing me for the first time. Let me give them an experience of a lifetime, you know. And I remember when I went to my very first concert. It was a Travis Scott concert.
Yeah.
And I was like, thank God this was my first concert, because it was actually yeah. I know. It was actually Travis Scott and Bryson Tiller.
Yeah.
So Bryson Tiller started first, and I was a big fan.
Yeah.
I was a big fan. I was like, what is this one?
He suffered the first night.
I was like,
yes, I
what's
remember
happening?
that. His interview
And
was
then
off.
there was an hour pause before Travis Scott. I was just like, why is this guy taking long? He's the main act. Why is he taking long? And then, like, there was bird cages. There was a forest on stage.
Yeah.
He came out of a cage. I was like, yes, this is what I'm here for, you know. And as much as you're definitely right, it is expensive to put together stuff like that. But the least you can do is invest in sound.
Yeah.
Just the sound there, you know,
Yeah.
if it's not going to be a full on set, just the sound to give people an experience, because some people are really seeing you for the first time.
And you know, I think that's the important point to remember about people seeing you for the first time, is that that's what they're going to remember.
Yeah.
And now you are disappointed because your first time seeing Bryson Tiller was him being a little bit off. Meanwhile, he's probably had better performances, but you'll never know.
I'll never know.
And sometimes that's also what changes people's perspective on your music. I've
True.
had countless times where I'll listen to a song for the first time on Apple Music and I'm like, okay, not so sure. And then I see the live performance, I'm like, oh,
Exactly.
the song
actually,
song.
this is the one. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it actually means so much for you to put in that much effort into your performance, because you're changing people's minds and changing people's perspective on the song that they've heard or how they feel about you, because now you're going to go back and invest more time into Travis's music because of how blown away you were by the performance, as opposed to just being like, this guy's second grade, next, you
This
know.
is another performance.
But
True.
also just guys, like everything in life, it just comes back to money.
Yeah. True.
Like it just comes back to money. We need money. And like you do get those promoters here and there, like, you know, like Alicia, when it's your birthday, he'll really go all out, he'll serve you the cutouts, he'll really try to put on a show for you, you know. I think promoters need to start thinking about that. Like, you know, venues like Zone 6, when they do different shows, they'll try to switch up the stage. It's so important. Don't
Zone
just like
6
put
is
the
so
onus
dope.
all on me, because niggas are 5,000, ngayenza makeup, ngafaka inwele, ngathenga, ngabhuka ne-transport. Iphelile. Mase ngigibela stage iphelile, akunamali yamanzi.
Exactly.
Like it's over.
You
You know, so I think just all round. Ramaphosa re kopa tjhelete.
Hey,
Kopa tjhelete.
stop spending it on weird things that you don't understand. I'm a flag that don't have to be put up. I mean, come on.
When that flag glows in.
But we don't need
What a
it.
joke, my darling.
We don't need it. We don't need it. But you know, definitely, I do feel it's a two-way street. Artists, I think, from a what are you gonna bring to the show perspective, definitely allows you to also then charge more. Because if you're saying, I'm putting on a show, people are coming because they know what I can put together, then you're also able to invoice a little bit more. But also promoters also need to make sure that their sound and everything is correct. You're mentioning about how people need to invest in sound. Sometimes you get to venues and the sound is a little bit off.
100.
CDJs are not the best. I'll give an example. This past weekend, I was judging a female DJ competition. And when I arrived there, obviously, everything had been set up, for instance, and the ladies had to, you know, play their sets. They played their sets. Obviously, we judged them. There was only one girl who was a hip hop DJ. Obviously, I'm paying attention a little bit more to her because I'm also a hip hop DJ. And there was like one or two moments where she kind of didn't get the mixing right. And I was a little stressed for her. And she had made it already to the top 6 because this was the finals. But she didn't make the top 3 because there was just 1 or 2 kinks in her set. Sharp. We announced the winner. At this point, I'm now booked to play my 30-minute set after. And as I get onto the same decks that she was using, I realized the one CDJ is a little bit off center. And I tell the sound engineer, I'm like, bro, I can't play with this thing because now it's going to mess up my set. Change this CDJ out. And I'm like, that probably messed up her performance. And now she couldn't obviously give 100% of herself. And it's horrible because sometimes you'll get to venues or gigs or whatever the case is, and people look at you like, Miss Cause,
DJ!
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 And it's like, but it's not me, bro. It's definitely the CDJ. And it's weird because obviously at that point I sat there and I was like, I'm not playing with this thing. You guys can think I'm a diva. I'd rather sit there and look like a diva than me play a set that you're gonna walk away and be like, she can't play.
And also you're gonna record and put it on social media.
And now you're gonna walk away and say she can't play.
It's so much easier for you, Miss Cosmo, as a vet. Like, you deserve that respect. Anybody needs to fucking bow their knee and show some respect to Miss Cosmo. But she's in a competition. She's not sure, Guti, maybe this is just like a challenge that I need to overcome.
Yeah.
And that's what happens. Sometimes you'll be like in those situations where you're like, this is bad, guys. This is bad. This is like it doesn't feel right, but you're just like, maybe this is one of those moments where you rise to the occasion and it's going to be a funny story to tell, or you never know who's in the audience, or and that's constantly what's happening to creatives.
Yeah, so it's difficult, this thing, because there's so many things we have to deal with that people don't really know is happening in the background. But
for me, it's late payments.
Send my leg too.
I just need a platform to say, I just feel like for me, out of everything that I face, it's late payments. Like, I've gotten to the stage where I'm able to say no to gigs now.
Yeah.
Like, there's certain gigs I'm just like, I'll need exposure. I just gotta get my money here. You know? So I'm just like, I'm good, ne? For me, my biggest challenge is payments now.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, how much money do you guys think I have?
It kind of also brings me to my final point, I think, for today, is also kind of sitting back and reflecting on how certain things have to be dealt with. You're mentioning about how late payments are obviously a frustration. We've spoken about people like Ricky and the Dumis, who we've lost because they haven't had a chance to speak about the things that they're dealing with. And as creatives, we do deal with a lot. I'm not saying corporates don't. I'm not saying that other people in different spaces don't have things to deal with, but we always have to kind of show up with a smile 100% of the time. Whether we're in a bad mood, people want to take pictures. Whether you don't have makeup on, people want to see you. They want to smile. How do you kind of sit back and kind of have a moment to reset and reflect and then say, okay, I'm ready for the next day. I'm ready to kind of keep going? Because we do have those days where we can't get up in the morning.
Recently I did a campaign and it was a full weekend. Emotionally, it was taxing. The entire weekend was taxing. I even called Smoo. I was like, this is a lot. And it actually took me bumping into someone as I was leaving for me to actually realize I'm right. They're like, Pam, are you okay? I was like, I'm not okay, but I just gotta leave. And then when I got to the car, I was like, I'm right. After that encounter, I literally got home and I texted the campaign manager on the side. I was like, hey, thank you for booking me. I'm gonna send you the feedback report on this particular day. Thanks, bye. Exited the group without saying bye, everybody, because they're still asking us for things in the group. Asking us, yeah, you have to do this interview, you have to do that. Exited the group. I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna do content creation for a month. I took a break for a month. I was like, and then I kept telling people like, yeah, guys, I'm on a break, so I can't take any more campaigns and stuff like that. And then they were like, yeah, but like, aren't you gonna make money? Like, what's gonna happen? I'm just like, no, I've been making money, and I'm not saying that it's a lot of money that I can go on holiday and just chill out, but like, it's enough money for me to realize that like my mental health comes first. It's enough money for me to recognize that like I need to take a break. That was emotionally taxing, and going from that to another campaign and another one and then another one is just too much. And I took a break. Then only after a month I came back and you're like, oh, you're back. I was like, I'm as much
right?
Yeah.
You gotta try to
nobody, like the world didn't burn.
Nothing.
People still love you.
Promise you.
Everything is gonna be okay.
Promise you. And I didn't take a social media break. I just said, I'm suffering just for a month, just on this part, because I recognize that's what's stressing me. This is stressing me. And Angiko right, I don't want to go into any other campaign feeling like, and you as a new campaign manager for a new brand or a new campaign, feeling like you're taking all the baggage that I'm carrying, all the attitude, all the anger that I'm carrying from the previous campaign to you. I was just like, no, let me take a break. So it's important for us to be able to recognize when to take a break. And I know we're always chasing goals. Oh, I want to buy myself a new handbag, so let me take 2 more gigs. Let me do this. Let me do this in order to afford. Like, yeah, it's not worth it. It's not worth your mental health at the end of the day. And I do understand that I'm speaking from a point of privilege, because there are people who are not able to take breaks because, like, no, if I take a break, I'll lose my place. If I take a break, I'll lose my car, whatever the case may be. But like, when all your needs and like immediate expenses are taken care of, please just do decide to take a break.
And sometimes it doesn't have to be a month. It could even be a weekend.
Exactly.
It could even be just a week. And then say, this week, I'm not posting anything. I'm not doing anything. I'm not arriving.
Exactly.
You guys will miss me. I'll be on my couch. Exactly. Next week.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely struggle with it. I think, especially as a person who's like super G's freak, love to read
Positivity.
the Bible. I'm always just so torn between, like, you know, I have the spirit of God in me. No weapon formed against me shall prosper. Like, I am more than a conqueror. I can deal with anything. But then also, I'm human.
Yeah.
You know? So I wonder, I really personally struggle with, like, just dealing with that balance. Also, sometimes, especially after doing it for so long, you just get a sense of, like, yo, there's so many people who I started with Abeko, and I'm still here. Like, I just have to be grateful for the opportunity and for the work. But this year particularly, you know, that voice note is like, if anybody asks me what I'm doing, I'm just doing me. How do I feel? I feel happy. Like, that's really what I'm trying to do. Like, and if it doesn't make sense for other people, it's fine. It makes sense for me. But I really do just try to read the Bible a lot. Because in those moments where the voices in your head are very long, or the outside circumstances are not responding the way that you would want, at least in the Bible, you kind of get that reassurance that, like, you know, God has good things in store for me. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. Nothing happens, you know, as a mistake. But that also can get tiring, I wouldn't lie. I think, especially like Christian people that like to put it out there, like, just pray, babe. Just pray. Like, prayer definitely does change, but you gotta wait on the Lord. You know?
No,
that can be heavy.
It's a patience game. It definitely is a patience game at some point. But I do think, you know, people need to find ways to switch off. And I think our biggest weaknesses also sometimes as humans or as people is that we forget that we constantly on our phones, and constantly being on our phones means you're never getting an opportunity to kind of
be alone.
Disconnect, be alone. And you can be in your room for the whole day and not be with anybody, but because you're here, you're still with people.
You're with people.
Mentally, you're still with people. So I do think, like I said, this doesn't span only to creatives, it spans to literally everybody. Whether you're in the corporate space, whether you are in creatives, whether you're just, you know, trying to get by, you're hustling, whatever the case may be, take some time to kind of then say, phone off, and just review and relax and sleep. I think we're also not allowing ourselves to sleep enough for us to then re-energize. And there's a lot that's also kind of expected of us. Or like I said, we're always expected to appear and to, you know, to arrive for other people, or whether we're arriving for a brand campaign, or maybe it's an opening of a shop, or whatever the case may be. Sometimes you just can't make it. There's nothing wrong with saying no. And just, you know, have that moment to kind of take to yourself. I also think it's important for people to speak. I know therapy is expensive in some spaces, but there's also subsidized therapy, which I think that people need to kind of look into. And it's not to say that you're crazy, and I've mentioned this before on the podcast. It's really just about letting it out. You know, that bottling in is the problem, because when you implode, that's where it's now too late. You know, so even if it's not a therapist, maybe you're speaking to a close friend of yours, just let your feelings out, get your frustrations out. If you need to cry, you cry. It's fine. It's therapeutic for a reason. And then you kind of then say, okay, that's off my shoulders now. Let's move.
Yeah, it's mental maintenance. It's like a car. You're not going to drive your car for 10 years straight without pouring petrol, without changing the tires, without making sure there's oil, without getting something to work. You have to do the mental and human maintenance.
Yeah.
Another thing that like you kind of touched on is just like switching off, and just like, and you mentioned like reading the Bible. I think another thing that's really important that people don't realize is that You must have a hobby, guys.
Yes.
Have hobbies.
That you don't make money from.
That you don't make money from.
Yes.
Like, have hobbies. Even if you're baking, even if you're painting, even if you're journaling, you're writing, whatever. Have hobbies, guys.
Yeah.
Like, if all you do is work and go enjoy Puzana Mangan Bako, work.
Yeah, Upuza's not a hobby, please.
It's not a hobby.
Please.
You need a hobby.
Really?
Yo, guys, having hobbies is so important.
I'm saying this to the wrong person.
You have to redirect your energy towards something, like towards building something, or learning a new skill, or developing something like new, like, or your brain, like, you get used to it, because as soon as you're making money from something, you're constantly thinking, how can I make more money from it? How can, like, my customers be happy from it? Like, as soon as a hobby becomes like something that you're making money from, find another hobby. Find another hobby.
Yeah.
And it is a stress reliever as well.
Yeah.
Also, do you know what's another problem? Do you know where's the danger?
Where's the danger?
danger
This
is
thing of too much love and you'll
never work a day in your life.
Amama! Amama siyasebenza.
Anti-stress.
Siyasebenza.
Exactly.
We love what we do. I mean, I really can't see myself doing anything else. Even in the outside space, like working at Era and with Drip, it is different from me being Muesli. But me being Muesli actually like pours into those things. So trust me, you're gonna work. Okay?
Yeah.
You're gonna work hard.
You're gonna work today. But please do take a moment just to kind of, sit and reflect and reset, and make sure you're constantly energizing yourself in one way or another. And no one will be mad at you for that, because you didn't die if you take a day off. You didn't die if you took a weekend off, if you don't drink. I mean, because I want to bash out, hey, weekend la mele city. No, sometimes you don't need that. You just need to be with yourself and kind of marinate in the goodness. You know,
and as your friends, we would much rather you take a lifetime off. Like, never work another day in your life than get to the point where you feel like, I don't want to live another day. Like, honestly, like, when I think about my friends, I would have run barefoot in the rain to try and stop them.
Yeah.
So, like, it may be like, oh my gosh, the world is on fire. You didn't come to work today. It's so bad. You're a terrible person. It's fine. You're alive. And that's honestly so much more important.
100%.
It's so much more important.
100%. But with that, thank you so much for joining me, ladies. I appreciated the conversation. I appreciated the chats and your time. Where can people, what are you guys up to now that people can kind of, lock into social-wise, that they can kind of check out what's good for the summer? Yes. So she's a new face of the new show. Hey, Miss Massive Music.
So I'm currently on Massive Music every
Yes.
Friday on Channel O, 7 p.m. Don't miss it.
Yes.
And then you can catch me on social media, and you'll see the BTS of the show, and you'll see
How was
what
the
else
nerves
I'm-
for the first episode?
Guys, I was nervous like from the Friday before till Thursday night. And then on the day, I was surprisingly very chilled. I was really happy, and I was just like, no, the danger is something's gonna happen today.
Yeah.
Why am I so happy? I was really happy.
That's dope.
I was like, because the way I was so like nervous the week before, I was like, hey, I don't know. Because I like, even my partner's like, hey, let's go out for dinner. I was like, I want dinner.
Yeah.
I want dinner. I want dinner. Dinner. Exactly. But like on the day, I was like so chilled. Enjoyed the show. I had a really good time. So
That's
yeah,
dope.
can't
That's
wait
dope.
for more episodes and all the BTS that we're gonna do on the show,
Nice.
because I do a lot of BTS. Just to like, it goes back to like wanting to tell my own story.
Nice.
I want to tell my own story like before the world deems it interesting enough to tell.
Yeah.
We wait for people to tell us that the story is interesting in order for you to tell it, but like I want to tell it myself so long.
Nice.
So yeah, that, and yeah, just keep it logged to my social media pages to see what's next.
Nice. All right.
Yeah.
So yeah, Muesli.
Awesome. Yo, Kalepi. Oh my gosh. You know what? I'm actually doing like a lot of BTS stuff this year, which has been really, really exciting. I think after like 10 years in the industry, I wanted to do stuff that like I really loved, where I felt I was having a meaningful contribution. So working with everybody, DJ Zinhle as the creative director, also working with the Drip Group, doing some cool stuff with them. Ipeteyami next month.
Yes.
So that's
So
really
we're going
what
to
I'm
Ben
focused
City.
on. Babe, we're going
to Ben
See,
City.
we're going everywhere. I open my passport. Be like, we are going everywhere. We are going to take it all the way to the top. But genuinely, also actually just taking it one day at a time. Like, you know, like I have a lot of plans, but like life is what happens while you're busy making plans. So just taking it one day at a time.
Yes, finally. I remember there was one time I had a conversation with Nubuzi, and she, it was like her favorite thing to always mention, like, oh, it's my party trick. When people would ask, how old are you? She's like, I'm 19. Bitch, you ain't 19 now, mom. That's what you say, finally. Do you know why? Because she always,
it was my thing.
She always used to laugh at me about how old I am.
I'm
She's like, hey,
21.
I'm Miss Cosmo. Yeah, well, look at you now.
I'm 21. And people are like, wow, you've done so much. Now when people ask like, how old are you? I'm 29. Oh, okay. I'll just move on like, oh, okay, cool. So
Are you not nervous?
I mean, I think because I wasn't Drake 25 sitting on 25 mil,
Yeah.
I realized we'll see, okay, it's fine. I really thought I was going to be 25 sitting on 25 mil. Oh, I'm in the building and I'm feeling myself. But I'm still in the building.
Yes.
I'm still feeling myself.
Yes.
You know, and it's all good.
That's dope, man. So big celebrations for the birthday.
Huge.
Nice.
Monumental celebration. 22nd of September, save the date.
Yeah, save the day. Thank you so much, ladies, for joining me.
Thanks,
I really do
Cosme.
appreciate
Love
it.
you.
And of course, to you, please keep on tuning in to the POPcast every single Tuesday, same time, same place. Right here, like, subscribe, comment, zonke bonke, hit us back. And of course, Muchi will be back again next week. And stick around for Real Views.
Happy Women's Month.
Hey guys, welcome to this week's episode of The Real Views on the POPcast. Of course, I'm Miss Cosmo. And there's been a lot of content that's been coming out this past week, and I've just been ducking and diving and trying to jump from one episode to another of this, that, and the next thing. And I tried to start a few shows and woo, it just wasn't doing the things for me. Maybe my concentration span is not kind of sitting on a series for now. So maybe I need to take a little bit of a break from that. So what I did decide to do is rather just check out a movie that's been trending and a lot of people have been speaking about, which is The Grey Man on Netflix. So The Grey Man on Netflix is actually a really good movie. And I was surprisingly taken aback about it because I generally just don't like action movies anymore right now. It just feels very like corny lines, a lot of things being blown up, no real storyline. And that's what's been deterring me from action movies. But this one has been really well cast, has been put together really well. The story is really dope. Ryan Gosling is the main actor on this one. And quite interestingly, also seeing Chris Evans in a bad guy role was a bit of a shocking one because typically we know him for Captain America, Mr. Save the Day. But for him to be a baddie in this one was really interesting for me to check out. So I do think you need to kind of, give yourself the 2 hours to see the story. I do think there's a little bit more to it. They could even give us a sequel. I'd be keen to actually watch that. And there's also a point where they have like these weird camera angles and how they zoom in with the drone shots. I think it's impeccable the way that they actually executed that. So go and check it out. The Grey Man on Netflix. It's a good one.